Okay, so here was our finished piece, and we're gonna go in back to this very top row where we had our 2 stitch markers, and we're going to single crochet, bob, 4 single crochet, bob, single crochet. So what does bob mean? Usually at the start of a pattern, they'll talk about abbreviations. They'll say, what do the abbreviations mean? Single crochet, decrease, chain stitch, slip stitch, bobble stitch. Just a little caution. There's a difference between UK terminology and then US terminology. So sometimes if you start a pattern and you feel like it's looking really wrong, then you should see, where is the pattern maker from? I need to adjust something on my iPad. Where's the pattern maker from? And maybe that's why. So let's see, what is the bobble stitch? There are a couple different types of bobble stitch, and this doesn't specify which type. So I actually tested. There's a 5-stitch bobble and a 3-stitch bobble. The 3-stitch bobble makes like a small little bobble for the eye, and then the 5-stitch bobble makes like a very puffy looking eye, and I thought that looked cuter. So I'm going to do a 5-stitch bobble. So there is a right side to the work and a wrong side to the work, but usually it's really hard to tell the difference. And then since this is just going to be a very simple plushie, I don't think it'll make a big difference which side we start on. But the one thing to note is that these markers that we placed, here's 1, 2, there should be 8 stitches in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you want, now you said you're using like a very fuzzy Chanel yarn, it might be kind of hard to see. So it might be worth taking some stitch markers and marking off all 8 stitches. So here was the first stitch, and actually just the way the stitch marker is placed, I want to move it so that it's not just in one loop. So it's going to be, I'm going to put this stitch marker in 2 loops like that. I'll grab another stitch marker. Here is the second one. Here is the third one. And again, you can just use like paper clips. You don't have to use these or safety pins. These are basically just big plastic safety pins. Here's a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th. Now I normally wouldn't mark them off like every single stitch like this, but especially when you're beginning and especially to show you, I think it's useful. So these are the 8 stitches where we're going to add a little bit of shaping to the top to create the head. So it says start crocheting from the first stitch marker, single stitch, bobble stitch, 4 single stitches, 4 single crochets, bobble, and then another single crochet. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to join in this first loop. So I have my yarn that I cut off, or remember I didn't cut it off, I just sort of ripped it. So we're going to go through that loop where we want to join it. And so crocheting is really cool because you can just start and stop wherever you want. In fact, a lot of people just don't even follow a pattern. They just freehand. They're like, I'm going to add some stitches over here. And you can just put in your hook anywhere and start crocheting. So I'm going to put in my hook here. I'm going to pull it through. Now it could just start crocheting across, but I like to do personally just one like anchor stitch. I like to do an anchor stitch. I just feel like it's a little bit more secure. So what I like to do is I like to do like a chain and then kind of really pull my tail tight, and then it kind of like anchors it in place. So, oh, all these stitch markers are getting in my way. I'm going to remove this first one. Now that my hook is already in, I don't need the stitch marker anymore. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have my yarn attached. I'm going to single crochet in this same loop. And it's in there pretty good. Like, this is not going to unravel. If you're worried about it, you can always take this free end and kind of weave it into the back. I'll show you how to do that. So I do the single stitch. And then the bobble stitch, I'm going to do a 5-stitch bobble. The bobble stitch is complicated. So actually, let me stop this video because it's already almost 6 minutes long. Let me stop the video and then I'll do a whole video just on the bobble stitch.